On August 2nd some new major content was added to sword fights on the Heights for Reforged. But in that update there was a completely overlooked change, a change that completely killed the skillful play and viability of a sword. The sword I'm talking about is the Ice Dagger, a sword suffering from a severe low skill ceiling. Let me start by explaining the abilities of the Ice Dagger. It has the ability to instantly kill any opponent the sword touches, and this is a pretty powerful ability as you would guess. So to balance it out, the Ice Dagger has some major drawbacks, like being only half the size of a regular sword, and having to wait a couple seconds after equipping for the insta-kill to work, so you can't just pull it out with no warning in the middle of a confrontation. Now on the surface, the sword seems fine with it having a powerful ability and suitable drawbacks. But in reality, the combination of the ability and drawbacks completely cripples it into having barely any skillful play. Let me explain what I mean. How sword damage is handled in itself is a very skillful aspect of the game. It is handled by Roblox's touch event, which triggers when something moves into the part that the touch event is connected to. This has the side effect of the more you move the more damage you deal. This leads to some interesting gameplay and skill expression. The Ice Dagger completely lacks this though, thanks to its instant killing nature, removing a very skillful aspect of the game. Another part of the game that I believe is important is something I like to call comboing, basically the idea of using multiple different swords or gear in tandem. A good example of this is the Illumina, a sword that propels the user a good bit, allowing for quick navigation around the map, or quick repositioning during a fight. And what makes this sword real good is that it goes well with every other sword in the game, as there's nothing stopping you from quickly equipping the Illumina and using it to reposition, then re-equipping the sword you were using. There is one sword it doesn't go well with though, being the Ice Dagger. As thanks to its equip cooldown before it can really do anything, you can't really pressure anyone with it when repositioning with the Illumina. All this really affects how much you can do with the sword, making low-level and high-level gameplay not really much different, in contrast to every other sword in the game which all have high skill ceilings. Now that you know about the problems with the Ice Dagger, how could they be fixed? The central ability could be reworked or completely changed. But that would completely kill the uniqueness of it. The cooldown could possibly be removed, but that causes balancing issues. So what could be done to make the sword actually have a skill ceiling comparable to every other sword, while also keeping its unique ability and balance? Well, there was actually already an answer in the game for this problem, being a tech that made up for a good amount of the lost skill ceiling. This tech was based around the fact that the Ice Dagger equip cooldown didn't stop when you unequipped it, allowing you to switch to any other sword or gear while the cooldown was running and being able to switch back to it before the cooldown ended, leading you to basically avoid the entire cooldown. This gave the Ice Dagger the opportunity to use it with other gear, reopening the avenue of skill expression with comboing. And using the tech in general was a form of skill expression, as it wasn't easy. You had to nearly time it perfectly for it to be optimal. As if you equipped it too early you would still have to wait a bit of time before the cooldown was up, and if you equipped it too late then the cooldown would reset. And touching a bit on its viability, the Ice Dagger lacks any real pushing power due to it being the smallest sword in the game. This causes opponents to just be able to back away and only engage with you on their own terms, and there wasn't really much you could do about it, as you couldn't use something like the Illumina to close the gap and add pressure. With the tech though, you could use the Illumina and have pushing power. But despite everything good this tech did for the Ice Dagger, they removed it. For no real good reason mind you, as it wasn't like anyone was complaining about it or had a problem with it. And it wasn't unbalanced either. Yeah, sure, it allowed you to avoid the cooldown, but you had to premeditate it, equipping the Ice Dagger and then unequipping it. This gave your opponents a clear sign of what you might try to do. And the fact it was the smallest sword in the game made it somewhat hard even with the Illumina to get kills, as your opponent could still easily reposition out of the way. And there's always the Firebrand to hard counter the Ice Dagger in general. So in conclusion, the change of the Ice Dagger cooldown timer stopping when unequipped greatly harmed the skill potential and viability of the sword. And the fact I've talked at length about this change, I would like this to be reversed.
Thanks for watching and please revert the change.